I would like to invite the next speaker, Katherine Wilson, to tell us about employers. Katherine, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be here and to meet you all. And just to introduce myself, I work at Carers UK, so we're a national membership organisation of carers, and we cover England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. And my job there is running an employers forum called Employers for Carers. And this forum supports employers to look after and recognise the staff among their workforce who will be caring unpaid for family members and friends. And it's still a very hidden issue in the workplace, without many employers knowing whether they've got any carers in the workplace or how to support them. So the challenge here again is knowledge, knowledge, and once again knowledge. And we've actually found it's quite challenging trying to actually support employers because they need to actually know which way to turn, where to get information. I'm just going to actually quickly talk about a technology conference, but the slides to move on.
Yeah,
sorry about this.
You just click the green. Just click
Thank
the
you.
green.
Lovely.
And if you want to go back, it's just the
Thank
red.
you.
Yeah.
Lovely. So I'm just going to really concentrate on information needs, but particularly ICT tools. And so really my slides are mainly going to be visual. It's going to be quite a short presentation, but some examples of how we have worked with employers through Employers for Carers is through providing information on our website to get key messages across to employers, to look at really practical web resources, guides and information for line managers, senior managers, and for carers in the workforce. Online toolkits, very quick things like how to, top tips, bullet points, information that really busy managers can access in the workplace. E-bulletins, and that's another way of getting information to people in a very timely and regular way. Not too much information because employers, managers have got their day jobs, and to actually get them to focus on caring, particularly if they're not caring themselves or aren't aware of managers in their team who are caring, is quite a challenge. You need to grab their attention. E-learning is another way that we support employers. We do face-to-face learning and training, but we find that e-learning is a really useful complement to that because people can do the courses at their own time, either in the workplace or outside. Apps. So we have recently at Carers UK launched a mobile and online app, which is a care coordination app to help busy working carers manage caring. So I'll show you that in a minute. Online surveys. We find these are a very good way of capturing information from employers and from employees in a way that they can just do in the workplace quickly rather than sending out information in longer formats. And the big question at the end is really an online forum facility. We have found, for example, that carers in the workplace do start networking and connecting in the way that Liz has shown on informed care, but employers are very reluctant to do so. And we would like to share some of the experience we've had around that. So just to start first with key messages. So an example really of how do you capture, a busy bank, for example, get their attention about why they should be thinking about carers in their workplace. So we have graphics and information on our website to say in the UK there are 3 million carers, and in your workforce that's 1 in 9 people at the very least. That probably underestimates the figure. We know that from the UK census it will be 1 in 9 or more. So trying to say to the employer, these carers may be hidden, but they are there. So if you look at any workplace, one of those people will have all of those things going on in their head. They're trying to manage their job, keep their job, and also care for their loved ones. An example of what employers need, from all our work with employers over the years, I think I've got it down to 4 key areas really, all beginning with P in English. So the first one is policies. You know, employers need to know, what do I do? What do I need to have in my workplace in order to help recognise and support carers? You know, what about legal rights? What about good practice in the workplace? The second P is promotion. Need to help employers get this information out. It's all very well having good policies on paper, which many employers have, but we know from our evidence that carers don't ever access this very often. Employers don't communicate it, and then 1 in 6 people leave work to care if they're not supported. So it's about getting the messages out. The third P is practice. So this is very, very helpful, top tips, information, if you like, in bullet points, not just lengthy policies, but how do you do this? How do you, for example, survey your staff and ask them about caring? What sort of words do you use to help encourage people recognise their carers? And the fourth P is about peer support. What we find from workplaces is that people find the most valuable support is talking to people who have been through a similar experience, whether it's a carer talking to another carer in a staff network, or whether it's a manager talking to another manager about how they can best support carers in their teams. So that's the 4 Ps. To give you an example of our website, so Employers for Carers, we launched as a national membership forum for carers, and we launched it formally in 2009, and it's a subscription service. We have no external funding to run it, so employers pay us an annual membership fee, and in return we provide them practical support and information both online and face-to-face. So that's a website that you see. What employers can do is get all sorts of resources and access lots of information through this. So this is an example of sort of top tips. There's whole sections here for employees, so that employers can provide this information for their employees about, you know, where do I turn to get help. And this is just an example of how we also signpost to other sources of information, like Inform Care does. You know, we're not repeating information, we're signposting to information on our wider Carers UK website, but we've also tailored it and refined it to make it really relevant for very busy people who are juggling work and care, so they need to get information at a glance, and they can actually get this anytime, any place, anywhere, because you can log on to the Employers for Carers website if you're a member organisation or a member of staff in a member organisation and access this anywhere. One of the challenges in many workplaces is that their own staff intranets, for example in banks, don't let you access the information when you're not in the workplace, when you're at home. So this is very inclusive. It means that employees can access it anywhere. Another example of our guides, just to show you, all of these are online. So we provide through Employers for Carers PDFs that people can print out, circulate more widely to their networks. And this is how they've evolved over the years. You see our branding has changed now. We've gone red to be more like Carers UK, as we are part of Carers UK. So one of those is an example of a toolkit. Another one at the end is a guide about legal rights and good practice. And we reproduce this information in small, what we call bite-sized chunks, you know, pieces of information on the website. So you don't just have to look at a big guide, because if you're very busy as a carer or a manager, you may not really want to download or read through lots of information. So we try to make those pieces of information into smaller parts under key headings on our website. This is an example of when you register as an Employers for Carers member onto the website. What we do is we give employers who are members a user code. So, for example, Barclays would have a particular number, and we ask them, the employer, to spread that to every member of staff on their staff intranet, every manager, so that it is as accessible as possible. And then the bank will then, anyone in the bank can then punch in the number and then get the member resources, as well as lots of public resources. You know, we do have a lot of public information on Employers for Carers site as well, but the member information is just more detailed and more facts and more tips. And an example of our monthly e-bulletin, anyone can sign up to that. So we have that, any member of the public actually who's interested can go on to the Employers for Carers website, just register to receive this, and then we send it out every month. And it's also a good way of capturing new employers perhaps who haven't thought about it. And we are pleased that Employers for Carers does come up quite high on Google searches if people are looking for employment and caring information. So hopefully that just spreads the word out more widely. Online surveys, as I mentioned, you know, using tools like we have SurveyMonkey, you know, a simple sort of questionnaire tool, and we find that really helps capture information both from employers and employees that really helps to add to the evidence base, helps us make the case to other employers. You know, we can start saying 70% of employers surveyed said that there was real business benefits of supporting carers in their workplace, and that helps make the case more widely. So some examples of topics we've done: managing caring at a distance, supporting employers to recognise those members of staff, for example, who may travel a lot for their job, be far away from home, be looking after an elderly mother or father at a distance, perhaps less likely to think of themselves as a carer, but they still need to access support. The other one there is sandwich caring, so horrible phrase, the journalists like it, but really we're talking about parents, particularly mothers, who are combining childcare for their young children with caring for adults, their elderly parents, maybe their partner, and being squeezed in the middle, like the meat in a sandwich, or the cheese, if you're vegetarian, of course. And then the last one there was dementia, because we realised that's a huge issue in the workplace, people supporting loved ones with dementia. So we did an employer and an employee survey, and then we did some practical tips coming out of that, both for members of staff who are caring, and we signpost to Alzheimer's Society, other good organisations, and we also did tips for employers. Now, as I say, we don't want to reinvent the wheel, so what we do in Employers for Carers is we signpost, we navigate to the Carers UK website, and of course in the future, as our employers are increasingly global, we can also promote Eurocarers, Inform Care, and point to other resources. So on the Carers UK website, we have these key areas really, which we think it's important that employers know, so they can actually tell their staff, you know, there is support and information out there for you in the UK or beyond, and not just about your work and career there, but about any aspect of caring, the sort of issues that Liz was talking about earlier. E-learning in the workplace, we have just launched some e-learning last year, and I have to say it was a very, very long process getting that sorted out. It sounds very easy, doesn't it? You know, you look at the resources, but we were looking at which provider to go for, and we had lots of discussions, but we've actually produced a series of e-learning packages. One of them is for carers, about carer resilience, which is really all about helping you manage caring and keep your health and well-being, look after yourself. And I think it's very relevant for busy carers in the workplace. And we've also produced some e-learning for managers. But I think there's lots of learning for us in that process, because I think what we've realised is, working with an external provider, there are pluses and minuses, and that we might think of trying to do this in-house when we build capacity in the future, or maybe again link up with other sources more widely through Eurocarers or Inform Care perhaps. But it's been quite a long journey, and employers are actually finding this beneficial for the reasons I mentioned. Getting near the end now, so this mobile and online app I mentioned, it's a care coordination app, and again it took years to develop, all developed with carers through our networks with some external help and funding, And it really basically is a big benefit to working carers. It's designed with working carers in mind, really after lots of testing from people like me and others on the Carers UK workforce who were juggling care with their own busy jobs. So how do you actually get messages out to your family? You know, mum's had a fall. I need to let my brother, my neighbour, everyone know very quickly. Can I synchronise that with my work diary if I want to? Yes, you don't have to, but there's a facility there. So this is a start. It's very much work in progress. We're hoping the next stage is to actually have a medications management side linked to it. So you can already put reminders and build up a profile about, say, your mother's health conditions and needs. And so how can that then talk to services in the future? So very exciting, but very, very basic still. We've kept it as simple as possible because we worked with lots of technology colleagues who got very excited and said, oh, you could do this, it could have this feature. But we were going, no, you know, these are all busy working carers. We're busy working carers. We just know what we want. So let's just start simple. So that's very work in progress. And then finally, really, the last point I wanted to make was about forums. So obviously, this is a snapshot of a lot of our Employers for Carers sort of member networking events with employers. And obviously, you'll see there that there's quite a lot of examples of people face-to-face, but also some with screens where people are actually showing our online resources. And the challenge we've got, really, is how we can talk to each other across employers more. Because what we have is lots of very practical resources, as I hope I've shown, both for line managers and employees. But employers are quite reluctant to share information between themselves. They see it as commercial information sometimes, even their really good policies. You really, really have to try to get that out of them, to get case studies. So I think that our next piece of work really is how we can connect them up. So what we've tried to do, we have a forum facility on our website, our Employers for Carers website, and employers haven't really used it. They haven't really wanted to go employer to employer. They love the face-to-face events. They always turn up at these, but we can't get them to talk online. So what we're going to try and do is do it by stealth. So we're going to try and do it by connecting the active staff carers networks. So a lot of workplaces now increasingly are developing peer support networks, so encouraging carers to get together on in the workplace. And very often those networks have a really key driver, a chair or lead person who's probably a really, really busy carer or former carer. And those networks are very good at sharing information between themselves. So we think we'd like to make our forum a network of networks. And then hopefully among those carers networks there will be key managers who can also help to change the culture and change opinion a bit. So, you know, we're learning all the time, and I think this is what it's so great to be at this event today, because I'm also looking forward to hearing from others and to meeting more of you to talk about how we engage with employers, because I think it is a real challenge, because caring in this way isn't so obvious as mainstream childcare. It's obvious to all of us because we're engaged in the policy area or as practitioners, but it's not obvious, for example, to a senior manager of a bank. They just don't really get it until they need to. So I think our challenge is how do we get knowledge, and it's all about knowledge, to plagiarise Elizabeth, out to employers far and wide. And so I really end, well, it's actually Australia, it should have been Europe on there really, but to make the point it's a global conversation, Europe and beyond. But perhaps Europe's getting bigger and bigger. Thank you.